This is the SNES Omnibus Volume 1. It covers letters A through M of the SNES library. It's written by Brett Weiss, who I'm a big fan of. I don't know him personally, I've never met him in person, but I am a big fan of his work. He's an excellent writer, and so he made a deal on Facebook where he would have a copy of this sent out in exchange for a review. And I was all about it because, not just because it's a cool product or whatever and I wanted something for free, but because I believe that a lot of the reviews out there are a little bit biased. The reason why I say that is because I noticed that a lot of the reviews, they know Brett on a personal level. I don't. I've never met him. Like I said, I'm a big fan, but I've never actually met him. So it's for me, it's not that. And I gotta be honest, back in the day when the SNES came out, I was a huge Sega Genesis fanboy. Loved my Sega, right? I started off with the Mattel Intellivision, and then I got a Mattel Intellivision 2, and then our family got a Commodore 64, and that was cool, and then I got an NES, and I loved my NES, but as I gathered all these consoles, I kept playing the other consoles still. And then once I got my Sega Genesis, all the other consoles collected dust for quite a while because I was just obsessed with Sega Genesis and Sega Genesis games. And so that's another thing that you're going to get out of this review. I'm not going to be biased about it being a Nintendo console. It's not one of my favorites. And third, I'm not in this book. Brett did something really cool with this. He actually opened it up to, all kinds of people. Whether you're like a programmer, somebody that actually worked on one of these games, or just somebody that's in the industry, or somebody that is like a YouTube reviewer like myself, or maybe you're a blogger or a journalist of some sort. And I think that's all cool too. Unfortunately, though, all the reviews that I've seen, I'd say probably 4 out of 5 of them have said something along the lines of, "Hey, check out this book. By the way, I'm in it. Go buy it." And I'm not that person. Like I said, I don't know Brett personally. I wasn't the biggest SNES fan out there, and I'm not in this book. So, with all that being said, how about we open it up, take a look, and I'll give you my final opinion of it. Alright, so first things first, I had to take this off the book because I noticed that even though I only read through the book once, that this thing likes to just slip everywhere. It does not like to stay on the book. And on top of that, it's kind of made out of flimsy material. And so it's already damaged. You can see the damage up here and up at the top and the bottom. And I didn't mistreat this book in any way at all. That's just a result from it sliding around on the book and everything. And so if you wanted to keep this cover protector in better condition, I highly suggest either just taking it off the book to read the book or to laminate it or something like that. But as far as the cover itself goes, really good quality. This is just like a college textbook. It's just really nice quality, really, really durable, and I like that a lot. On the inside, we got a couple dull pages here as far as like the paper quality goes, but as soon as you get past that, you'll notice that all the rest of the pages are really high gloss and really good quality. I mean, look at this. I'm kind of bending it around, crinkling it up, and there's no damage to it. It's very nice. Over here, you got some, like you got, who published it, and all the copyrights and fun things. And you will notice that this is actually printed in China, and we do all know that Chinese products are usually crap. But it's really common practice for companies to outsource to China nowadays because they get the job done for cheaper. But that being said, that doesn't reflect upon the quality of this book. I think it's very good quality. And we got the contents there. Very nice picture of Earthworm Jim there. And we got a really nice foreword. Talks about this, SNES specs and everything. Really well written. I enjoyed it. And we got this by Brett. And he talks a little bit about his history with the SNES and his history as a writer and whatnot. This is a good read. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole book, to be honest. And like I said, I'm a big fan of Brett, and so to hear, his experience, with writing and, the actual SNES and some of the games and whatnot, like, this is cool. I like that a lot. And then we got some acknowledgments, and then we begin the actual game section. So we're not going to go through every single game. We're just going to kind of flip through here. Look at that. That is definitely high quality. And so I'm going to go to one that I have bookmarked. There it is. Beavis and Butthead. And the reason why I bookmarked this is because David Warhol actually gives some insider insight. And I'm a big David Warhol fan. Like, he is one of the original Blue Sky Rangers. He worked on a lot of Intellivision games, and he continued to work on games after the Intellivision. And yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that he worked on Beavis and Butthead. And so that's super cool. And basically, by looking at this, you should be able to tell how most of this is written. And so Brett writes the description of the game, and it's kind of reviewy, but not so much. Like, he doesn't really give too many opinions. It's more of a description of the game, like what it consists of and everything. He does give a little bit of opinion, but not a whole lot. He saves that for notable quotes and the insider insight. And I think that's smart on his behalf, because if he were to come out and flat out say Beethoven sucks ass, then, you could hold that against him, the writer of the book. But if somebody like Eric Perez over here in the Insider Insight gives his opinion of the game, and maybe his opinion is that Beethoven totally sucks ass, then that's on him, not Brett. You see what I mean? And so I like how this is arranged, and it's so cool that you have not only like the box art, but you also have like what the cartridge looks like, and they not only give you what the cartridge looks like, but they also give you a picture of the end label as well. And in some cases you get screenshots, like the title screen, other gameplay, and in other cases you actually get video game advertisements as well. And so those are all good things to have. Like, there's one. What foul? Anyhow, so I really like how all this looks. Like, the header up here is very SNES display unit, And so, yeah, all this is really cool. Looks really good. And so we'll go ahead and we'll flip past the game section, and that's a little invoice that they sent me with it. And over here you have all the websites that he uses as sources. And I like that he actually shows his sources, because let's be honest, a lot of YouTube reviewers, they actually plagiarize Wikipedia, almost word for word, and in some cases word for word. Brett doesn't do that. Brett's a real author, and he gives, props when they're due. Like, he actually shows his resources. He doesn't just plagiarize. Now, this part is obviously about the insider insight, all the contributors to the book. And this part is actually really cool, because a lot of these people I've never heard of before, but there is a good chunk of people in here that I know personally. And so that's pretty awesome. Or if I don't know them personally, I, subscribe to their YouTube channel or whatever. The only criticism that I have about this, and this may be other than the kind of flimsy cover protector, this might actually be the only real criticism that I have for the book, and that is the fact that when you look at these different people, it it doesn't list which page or pages that they are on, or which games they contributed to. And so that's kind of an issue for me, because like if I'm looking up Dave Warhol, I want to know which game he contributes to. I already know about him. I just want to know how he contributes to this book. Now we get to the index, and that actually goes through all the games, just in case you want to just look up D-Force or any of these other games. You can actually go back here, check the index, and then you can go right to that page. But that's it. That's the rest of the book. You get a nice blank page there, and then there's Booger Man. Alright, so now that I've flipped through the book, and you've seen everything that it consists of, and you've heard my criticisms of it, the $1,000,000 question, of course, is, do I recommend this book? The answer is yes. It's very high quality, and you know what? I mean, it doesn't get much more definitive than this. The one thing that I do gotta say, though, is that this is a $50 book. And so if you want the complete omnibus, it's going to run you $100, and $100 is a lot to spend on a couple books, especially when they're not like college textbooks or something like that. But I do got to say that this is like the definitive version of an SNES library book. It's awesome. The quality is definitely top notch. I really enjoyed all of Brett's writing, and a lot of the other contributors were really cool too. I really enjoyed their writing as well. The pictures and everything in this book just makes it so over the top worth it. And one thing that, I didn't show was the centerfold. Look at that. That is so cool. I'm sorry, I don't know who drew this, but whoever drew this, you're a great artist. This is really cool. And I like that it's not just Nintendo characters, it's just all kinds of characters for all the SNES games that are featured in this book. And so that's really super cool. I know that $50 is kind of a little bit much. It's kind of a little bit much to spend on a book. However, I will say that if you want a nice book, this is pretty much as nice as it gets. I really, really enjoy it. And that's coming from a guy that's not super into the SNES, a guy that doesn't know Brett Weiss personally, a guy that isn't in the book. This is pretty awesome. I really, really like it. And so, I mean, if $50 is too much for you to chew, I understand I'm poor and cheap. However, I did notice that places like Walmart and Amazon are actually selling the book for a little bit cheaper, as well as Barnes & Noble. And plus, Barnes & Noble tends to offer different discounts, different 15% off coupons and stuff like that. And so you could potentially get this book for $30, $35 instead of $50. Or you can spend a little bit more and go to Brett's website and actually get a autographed version, which if you're really super into Super Nintendo, then that's probably the way to go. Anyhow, I hope that you've enjoyed this review, and I really do hope that everybody goes out and gets a copy of this, because this is fantastic. Thank you.